Today's profile, we're covering the weather loach, also known as the Dojo loach. Misgurnius anguilocaudalis is the scientific name. Maximum standard length for this species is between 8 and 11 inches, sometimes exceeding 12 inches, though that is uncommon in captivity. The minimum tank size for this species is a 75-gallon. Mainly because they prefer groups of 3 or more. They are a social fish and enjoy interacting with others of the same species. This species is commonly found in slow-moving waterways such as swamps, oxbows, backwaters, and paddy fields. They have a wide geographic distribution, and because of that, they have 2 typical habitat setups. One is filled with dense plants and vegetation. The second type is a tannin-stained blackwater habitat with ample leaf litter and driftwood. The substrate for all of these habitats is either sand, mud, or silt. As you can probably assume, because of its varying habitats, they do have a wide geographic distribution. I'll just name a few of them. They can be found in Siberia, Sakhalin Island, Korea, Japan, China, northern Vietnam, and even Laos, though it is uncertain if the Laos population has been introduced by the aquarium hobby as an invasive species. They are invasive in a wide range of countries, so I'm not going to go over them, but there's over a dozen that they are invasive. The aquarium hobby is thought to be the primary reason why they are so invasive throughout the world. Now for recommendations for tank setup conditions. They need soft, sandy substrate or fine gravel. This is because they regularly bury with only their head exposed for security purposes. Since they are loaches, they have sensory barbels, which help aid in finding food. If you have too rough of substrate like gravel, it can damage these barbels, leading to issues finding food over time. Decorations are not super important, but you should have some. Either caves, PVC pipes, or driftwood formations. Essentially, you just want them to be able to hide and have shaded areas for them to feel comfortable in. They do not like brightly lit tanks, so floating vegetation or driftwood formations will help with that. As I said before, you can either go naturalistic with a botanical tank with lots of leaf litter and driftwood, or you can do a heavily planted tank. Just make sure it isn't too bright. Now for behavior and compatibility. This species requires lower water temperature, so it isn't great for your typical community aquarium. There are accounts that they do well with goldfish. Just make sure that they get enough food because goldfish are gluttonous and commonly outcompete dojo loaches. Ideal tank mates would be medium to large fish that do well in subtropical conditions. The ideal temperature range is between 64 and 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Their diet in the wild is chiefly predatory. Their primary source of nutrition in the wild is insect larvae and small crustaceans. In captivity, they're typically unfussy eaters, which will thrive on a variety of diets. That being said, they should be fed a variety of food in order to properly thrive. Now let's go over sexual dimorphism, or how to distinguish males from females. Females are typically a little larger and heavier bodied than males. Mature males' pectoral fin are typically enlarged with a thickened second ray. This thickened second ray is known as lamina circularis. Also, if you look at them from above, males will have a swelling of their body behind the dorsal fin. This is typically pretty visible. Now let's go over reproduction. Accounts of captive breeding isn't very specific and not well documented, so there's not a lot to go on. That being said, I will go over some of the things we do know. They're not known to spawn without hormone additives in captivity. The first spawns typically occur between the ages of 2 to 3 years. They are seasonal breeders, typically breeding between March and July. Females will typically lead the male into areas of dense vegetation or filamentous algae. There, the male will circle them and release sperm while the female releases eggs for life.